Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ. Welcome back, 918, little bit of change. Now I can hear myself. Lev, how are we doing, man?
Great. Happy to be back, CJ.
Well, I'm happy to have you back. I just saw on Pere Marquette's Facebook, the Pollinator Day already getting advertised. This is going to be a big event.
I'm hoping so. We're going to have several people coming out from the St. Clair Beekeeping Association. We're also having a structural botanist and several other folks come out in order to talk about our native bees and also honeybees. And then we're also going to have crafts. I'm going to try to get some local honey vendors. We are going to take some hikes. It's going to be a really fun day, and we're going to learn all about the wonderful insects that we have here that pollinate our plants.
And that's what's really cool, because folks don't realize there's so many more pollinators than just, bees out there.
Yeah, so there's our European honeybee and the Russian honeybees that everybody raises, but we also have many, many species of native bee that are, in decline from, habitat loss and climate change. And we are really excited to bring some attention to those and the honeybees that we all love at the park.
Now, are there any pollinators that aren't bees?
There are plenty of pollinators that aren't bees. For example, if we look at magnolias, they are pollinated by beetles, and that's because their lineage is so old that magnolias were around before flying insects, and bees were actually a thing.
No kidding.
Yes.
That's so fascinating. I would have never have thought that beetles pollinated.
They do. And actually some beetles get drunk off of the alkaloids that these trees produce. That's really interesting. Yeah.
Wow. Have you ever seen a drunk beetle before? That's pretty interesting right there.
Yeah.
So besides beetles, anything else?
Yeah. Birds pollinate. Hummingbirds, for example.
Do they pollinate? I didn't realize that. I thought they just spread the seeds to grow more plants.
So, for example, ruby-throated hummingbirds, they have a mutualistic relationship with several species of hickory. They will land on these plants, and they will collect some of the pollen, and they're so small, go around to different plants and different trees. So a lot of things pollinate more than just insects, but insects are the big one here.
Right. Well, and that's what's really cool about this to learn about, because, so many times how many of us have maybe, killed a beetle or two, not realizing that it's actually helping our environment.
Yeah. Like I said, we're excited to bring some attention to these little creatures.
Well, and too, just to raise some more awareness for this. I mean, from guided hikes to honey tasting, live animals too?
Yeah, we're going to have some live bees there.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, live animals, live insects.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, maybe throw a pollinator hummingbird out there. And I had a pet hummingbird.
You did? That's
I did.
awesome.
My mom ran over it with a lawnmower, so I nursed it back to health.
That's awesome.
It did not make it the full gamut, though, Webb. I'm just going to be honest with you. But we tried. His name was Nectar, and he liked,
He liked Nectar, yeah.
Hector liked Nectar. His name was Hector. That's what it was. So,
fantastic.
What goes all into this? Because there's so many beekeepers around, it seems like now. There's more and more of a community growing, and there's organizations, associations. Has it been pretty easy to find some beekeeping
and the Beekeeping Association that we work with, they're incredible. We have a hive at Pere Marquette, and they come out and maintain our hive for us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're really awesome, and they're just as excited as I am to bring this to the table, and we're excited to continue working with them.
Well, really, Pollinator Day should be a really important day, because if we don't have pollinators, we don't have a lot of anything.
Exactly. And not just that, June 22nd is in the middle of Pollinator Week. So there's a whole national week dedicated to pollinators, and we're doing our event right in the middle.
I've always, if I had another chance to go back and do it again, I'd love to be in the National Park Service. There's just something about the environment that you guys create over there too, from, working there, but also the education and awareness that you bring to the table for the public.
Yeah, it's a great job. In the state park system, I get to really move around and work with all different kinds of people to bring all different kinds of programs. And, you know, I get to be in the woods every day, and I get to talk about pollinators and trees and plants. And so I cannot complain and really enjoy where I'm at and what I do.
You know what's amazing, too? I was over in Truman, Missouri, and they had the Truman House, you know, as a national landmark. So they have their park service there, the park rangers. And I thought, how nice of a job is that? You know, you come out every like half hour and you just walk around to small home and then you're done, you know, and then you take you go back and work some more. I'm like, I could do that, you know, a retired job, go walk somebody through some dead guy's house. That's fun. You know, you know, Lev, what's your most what is your biggest fascination with pollinators?
Well, mutualistic relationships between certain plants and certain insects. For example, let's talk about aphids. And there are this whole class of insects called aphids. They're tiny, 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 and they will have some very specific plants. So a dicanthelium is a type of grass.
Okay.
And there's a dicanthelium aphid, and you can only find it on one species of dicanthelium. And that's just really interesting how these relationships between these plants and these insects are so specific.
Yeah. Well, heck, I mean, if you don't know any better, you think the plant produces the bug, you know, because that's all you can find them on.
Yep.
That's really fascinating. And now, you know, what happens if somebody all of a sudden's out in their native, you know, let's say they have an acre, and you know, one of their acres is just overgrown with what they think's just nastiness, and they get rid of it all. If they start taking out some of those pollinator plants and maybe some of those really vital natural, you know, wildflowers and natural landscapes, what happens to that area? Does it directly affect the area if you remove those pollinators from your land?
Yeah, so I always point out to landowners who ask me about, you know, their fields and their prairies. Okay. Go to someone's lawn that just has fescue or one type of grass and just listen. What do you hear? You might hear a cricket. You might hear a bird. If you go to another lawn that's, you know, they've let it grow out, they've let it become prairie, and you have all these different species. It's a symphony of, you know, of an ecosystem. You hear so many different kinds of animals and plants, and not plants, but insects.
Yeah.
And it's just a difference of the quality of habitat. And I don't know, for myself, whenever I am around ecosystems that are rich and diverse, I get a lot more satisfaction. It feels more of an, you know, better outdoorsy experience.
Well, and it just looks better too.
It does.
You can tell that it's taken care of.
Yeah.
It's there's something about it, Lev, and that's what I think's so cool, because I've run into a few folks that are doing native gardens now and really doing the natural way by going over to the native plant event that happened last weekend and learning a little bit more. It's really cool to see how the soil quality and all of that is just so much better than somebody that just has a cut and dry lawn.
Yep. Always plant native. Every non-native or what's the word I'm looking for? Any non-native plant or any plant that's, you know, supposed to look pretty in your garden, there is 100% a native alternative. There are so many plants that grow in this part of the country. There's always options outside of what you get at, you know, Walmart or Home Depot.
Is there anything that can kill pollinators off? Any plants that, you know, or have a bad effect to our native pollinators?
Well, we talk about invasives a lot. We talk about invasive olive and everyone's favorite honeysuckle.
Right.
There's only a few pollinators that will actually go after those flowers. And so you lose a lot of our native species of plant when those invasives come in and overcrowd and take over those ecosystems. And so we lose a lot of those pollinators just because they lose habitat.
Right. Well, and folks, if you're just tuning in, we're talking to Lev from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources Office of Land Management for the Pollinator Day at Pere Marquette, June the 22nd, 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. You got time, but the way this year's flying by, god dang, man, we're going to be there next week.
Yeah, feels like it for sure.
It's been crazy. Now, talk about the guest speakers you're planning on having out there.
Yeah, so we have a gentleman from the St. Clair Bee Association, and he is wonderful. He maintains our hive.
Okay, yeah.
He's going to come out and have a demonstration about beekeeping. He's got a cart with the hive on it and talk about how you can start your own hive. Then we also have a structural botanist coming to talk about plants in relationship to native bees. and planting in native gardens, and I'm working on getting some more folks out there, so maybe a little bit of a surprise too.
Really cool. And now take me through that hive presentation, because bees are the most fascinating insect to me.
Yeah, of course.
And the way that they communicate, the way that they have their roles and their jobs are so fascinating, but the structure of the hive is really cool too.
Yeah.
And how they lay out their home. Are we going to learn a little bit about that too?
Absolutely. We're going to learn about undertaker bees. We're going to learn about...
Are those the ones that get the dead ones out of the way?
They're the ones that get the dead ones out of the way. Dancing bees. We're going to learn worker bees and drones and queens. They have such a complex and intricate bee society.
Yeah.
And we're going to learn all about it and maybe do some bee dancing too.
That's cool, because it's like people who always made fun of me, like, because I nerd out about bees, but it's such a cool, it's such a society. I mean, all of the hives are basically mini worlds.
Yep.
And the bee movie, I'm not going to lie, kind of turned me on to bees. I'm not going to lie. Jerry Seinfeld, the only good thing he did after his show was pretty much that bee movie.
Yeah.
Well, and whenever we're talking about, bringing the kids involved into this, are they going to be able to understand some of what the speakers have to say, or is it more...
Absolutely.
Cool.
So I'm gearing this, or the way we're working this through is going to be towards families.
Really cool.
With the opportunity for, older folks to talk to the beekeepers and ask them more tough questions. But we're really trying to get, kids and young adults and people in high school, middle school, that type of area to come and learn about their environment. And that's really what we're trying to do at the park right now, is really bring the youth in.
That's really cool. And take us through the guided hikes. Where are we going to be hiking at Pere Marquette?
We're going to be hitting some of our famous trails, weather dependent.
Of course.
Well, rain or shine will do it, but where we hike is dependent.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about the native plants and the native insects. We're going to be pointing them out, maybe eating some of those plants too, learning about the plants we have at the park, and that'll be with me.
Good. I'm glad it's with you, because if I went out there and started eating plants, I'd probably be, with wild berries all over my face and, out in the woods somewhere being
You can
found.
eat any plant at least once.
Seriously?
Well, you eat it more than once, and it might not end so well, but at least one time.
I'll be darned. Like, I could. Just as for me, this is a CJ question. So when I was a kid, out in the woods, because my house butted up to where the cross is, going down the river road. Have you seen the Silver Cross yet?
I have not.
You have to take a walk. It's a good hike. You'll like it. Good view. It's easy. But they had these red berries, and every time your friend dares you to eat one, and I never did. Is that a smart thing to do?
Generally, no.
Okay, I'm glad I didn't then.
Yeah. For the most part, there's not many plants here that'll really hurt you, but you might get a tummy ache.
That's really interesting. That's good to know. Like, I could have used you about 20 years ago when I was a kid. This is really cool, Lev. Take me through the year that it's been for you over here, the 2024. We talked a few months ago, but how's everything gearing up for you at the park?
It's been incredible. I really, really have enjoyed, my time with the public, and I've had nothing but excellent experiences. I've been able to teach so much and, learn so much about this really cool area that we live in. Pere Marquette, as I always say, is really diverse, really interesting, topographically unique. And every time I go out, I find something new.
What's it like whenever you have a group that you're working with kind of just stop and listen for the first time? Because we always go outside, but, folks don't really stop and hear the environment that's around them because we're so trained to kind of just keep focused as people. Is it kind of cool whenever you go, all right, everyone just take a quick listen?
It's really awesome.
Yeah.
My whole life, I've been a really big tree nerd and plant nerd and nature nerd, and, finally someone's listening to me. But I always really enjoy bringing people out, and it's a different experience when you go out with somebody who does it, every single day, and I get to expand upon what I know, and I learn a lot too, and I get to teach, and that's really, really cool, and I don't take that for granted.
Absolutely. You got a moment to stick around?
I do.
I got to pay a quick bill. 9:31, we'll take a quick break. Our daily show comes back and hits you next right after this on Roku TV and Riverbender.
I set the thermostat so my house would be warm when I got home from work, but the kitchen is still cool.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we stand behind every Linux system we sell.
My dealer said he'd take care of everything.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we understand everyone wants prompt, professional service.
Turns out it wasn't my furnace after all, just a little something blocking the vent.
Pretty smart dog if you ask me. For service you can count on, call Barrett Heating and Cooling.
Lennox. Innovation never felt so good. You won't find a better health club than Nautilus Fitness Center. More cardio, more free weights and equipment, more classes, a swimming pool, and more. If you're serious about your health and want to make a change, then stop thinking about it and visit Nautilus Fitness Center on Industrial Drive in Alton. Don't fall for the hype you get from the other health clubs. Nautilus is the Riverbend's premier health club. Has been for years and will be for years to come. Get to Nautilus Fitness Center and get started on a healthier new you.
DJ Mike Keith. This is where I am today. Let me show you where I started.
Life's better when you're under our roof. That's because our expert agents will make you feel totally protected with the right auto and home coverage at the right price. Also, you can enjoy the dreams you've worked so hard to achieve. American Family Insurance.
For the biggest selection of pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs in the Riverbend, visit AltonToyota.com or stop by their location on the Homer Adams Parkway in Alton. Winner of the prestigious President's Award, Munganast Burkhardt Alton Toyota knows how to treat their customers, and they will help you find the vehicle that is perfect for you. For years, Munganast Toyota has been a fixture in the Riverbend, and now Munganast Burkhardt carries the tradition. New name, but the same great service you've come to expect.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
Sorry, I was playing can basketball. 9:34. Welcome back to Our Daily Show. Little Hank Williams Jr., some Bo Cephas, some Lev, Illinois Department of Natural Resources Land Management, and Pollinator Day on June 22nd. Getting back to this, Lev, how is your guided hikes going whenever you came on the first time?
Oh, they've been going really well. I've had a lot more people join us, especially since the weather's been warming up. There's a lot more plants for me to talk about, and I can talk about plants till I'm blue in the face. So I encourage everybody to come down. If you want a private tour, you can give me a call. We can do that too. Everyone's welcome anytime.
Man, I just love that there's some really passionate folks over at Pere Marquette, because we take that for granted. I mean, to be able to go somewhere and, you know, whether or not you go by yourself and just want to walk around and see stuff or stop and ask, you know that you're talking to folks that really care about everything they're talking about.
Absolutely. And every single person at Pere Marquette is incredible. I couldn't do it by myself.
Now, I got to ask you something here.
Of course.
This is personal for me. 23,000 people have responded to your Morel Mushroom, not yours, but the Pere Marquette Morel Mushroom Festival. How in the hell are you guys getting those numbers? 24,000 people are interested or responding or going to this thing on Sunday.
People really, really like morels.
Now, are you a morel guy?
I was not up until I ate a few for the first time the past month, and now I'm...
So you've never had one before? So that's my problem. I don't like fungus. Like, I'm kind of weird about this stuff, man. Like, I'm Italian, and we have our mushrooms and all of our truffles and things, and that's cool and fun, and we like those, but there's something about pulling that sucker out of the ground and putting it in my mouth. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, they're more closely related to animals than they are to plants.
Are you serious?
Yes, they are.
Why is that? Can I ask you that? Do you know? I have not to put you on the spot.
Well, taxonomically, I can make it kind of an educated guess.
Yeah.
I think it probably has to do with the structure of how they're genetically designed. So they all have... So there's chemicals that, you know, the umami flavor you get from meat. There's chemicals in mushrooms that are similar to that. So their cellular structure is closer to meat than it is to plants.
I'll be damned.
They don't have like lignin and cell walls, thick cell walls like plants do. They're soft, palatable.
Yeah.
Palatable, yeah. Palatable cells. And they're also delicious.
Yeah, you're right. That's interesting, though, man. So now, this was your first time trying one this year, correct?
Yes.
Does it taste like chicken, like people keep saying?
It tasted better than chicken.
Really?
Yes. I did not understand the hype, but now I get the hype.
Okay, because I'm like, Thank you. For years, because everyone around me goes morel mushroom hunting, I'm like, who? It's a mushroom. Do we all have to like stop the presses to go do? And they take it seriously.
Yes, they do.
You better not give out a spot. I mean, it is like that competitive. What's the biggest one you've seen out of Pere Marquette so far this year?
I saw one that was probably about 7 or 8 inches tall.
Oh my God.
It was pretty big. Yeah.
Oh my God, that feeds you for days. Well, I just had to ask because I looked today and I saw 23,000 people are responding or going or.
People love mushrooms.
Man, I hope that so many more people love pollinators too, because without pollinators, you don't get many of this.
Well, if they come to Pollinator Week, maybe they'll find a mushroom. It's very late in the season, but maybe.
Well, and take me through that cycle of if you could, of, the pollinator, process. Because, pollinators obviously go to a plant, they transfer it over to a different plant, right? And they keep, growing and they keep...
Yes, it's actually very dependent on the species and the plant. So every pollinator has a different way of pollinating or cycling through plants. In general, it's pretty simple. They get the nectar, they get the pollen on them, they go to another plant, transfer that pollen over. So it's fairly simple. But then you get, weird things like beetles that do that, or wasps that make...
Well, okay, stop. Wasps don't do anything good, man.
So there are... Other than the stinging wasps, there's actually other species that don't really sting, or if they sting, it's not bad.
No way.
And they'll lay eggs inside plant stems. So if you ever seen let's say a sumac, and you see a big gall, like a brown looking bubble, it's actually a wasp made that, and it's full of eggs. And I learned that the hard way in college because I cracked one open and a million tiny little insects fell all over me, and it was terrible. But they're called wasp galls.
Do they sting you when they're...
No, they don't. So there's a lot of species of wasps that don't sting.
I'll be darned, man.
Yeah, and they will pollinate by, having their young, lay an egg inside or having their eggs laid inside the stems of these plants. The plant responds they stimulate a growth factor in the plant. The plant responds by growing a little casing around the insects. They hatch, they live all over the plant, and then go to a next plant and do the same thing.
Wow. Now, what do they look like? Are they different than paper wasps?
There are so many other species. There's probably 500 or 600 species in the park of tiny little wasps.
That's incredible. See, that's why I think this is such a cool thing, because if it's over there at Pere Marquette, it's probably over in our backyards if we're doing it the
everywhere.
right way. That is so cool. Man, see, now there are certain wasps that are okay. Because I hate those paper wasps, whatever you call
me too.
them. Those are the worst things ever. Now, do they kill bees? Paper wasps?
Yeah, so they're carnivores, or insectivores to be correct. They will, eat bees. They love to decapitate them.
Oh my God!
But bees have great defenses, so they will swarm a wasp and overwhelm it if a wasp breaks into into the hive.
Now, do they do the same with like those hornet videos I've seen where they like jump on them and overheat them?
That's what they do.
I'll be darned.
So they do that. They also attack, and they're not defenseless. They do sting. A wasp is bigger, but bees are pretty tough.
No, so when a bee stings you, it dies, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and why is that? Is it because is it the stinger? Does it inject? Does it detach?
So it's got a barbed stinger.
Like a stingray.
Like a stinger, yeah. So, and something interesting and related is every insect that has a stinger, it's actually a modified ovipositor, which is a organ that's used to lay eggs. So that's why female insects sting and male insects don't.
I'll be darned. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I always found that interesting.
Yeah.
But to talk about that more, they have barbed stingers. And that's because bee colonies are a lot larger. And so when they sting, their aim is to get as much venom into whatever it is as fast as they can, because if one bee dies, that's okay. But with wasps, they have a lot smaller colonies, unless, of course, you're a bald-faced hornet, but we don't talk about those.
Yeah, those are evil.
Yeah,
those
terrible,
just need to go
creatures.
away.
Yeah.
That's the next invasive species we're going to get rid of.
Yes.
Even though they aren't. I consider them as such.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Now, what are you guys fighting with right now over at Pere Marquette? Any insects that are getting out of control over there?
It's the same thing. It's always ticks. My God, the ticks are terrible.
Now, what do you do for ticks when you're hiking out there?
I Used to use bug spray. It doesn't really work.
Like DEET doesn't work or anything?
I take duct tape and I tape it around my socks, and I wear long sleeves and tape it around my wrists, and I'll still get ticks. So it's just something you learn to live with.
Now, hats, do they really help you too much with ticks?
Anything that covers your skin helps.
Okay.
But right now we have seed ticks, which are the ticks in their first instar stage. And when I say instar stage or instar stages, is the stages that insects go through in their life cycle, and there can be several. So they're tiny, 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 tiny. Some I've seen, I had one actually that was the size of a poppy seed, and you couldn't even find it. And they still transmit disease. So just be very cautious when you're in the woods, and when you're taking a shower, inspect yourself thoroughly.
Now, how can you find them? Because I've always been nervous about this, because they say to check yourself. So I go out and and I come back and I start looking or feeling. Do you feel like, can you feel them at all?
Yeah. So maybe because of I've been doing this a while.
Right. You have a knack, right?
I have a knack. If you rub your hands slowly across your body and you feel something hard or out of place, it might be. They have the texture of a sesame seed.
Okay.
And so if you touch it and it flips up, or you feel little legs moving, it's probably a tick.
That's true. Now, how do you get rid of them? Because I know that sometimes if you just pull them off and that head stays on, you're in trouble still.
So, there's actually, people are debating whether or not it's a big deal. It's basically, it takes transmit disease when they ingest your blood and regurgitate it back into your bloodstream.
Okay.
I always tell people, do not use lighters, don't burn ticks off.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Okay.
Yeah, don't burn a tick off. It doesn't, you're still going to leave that little head in your body. What you do is you take a pair of tweezers, you get as low to the bottom of the tick as you can, pull up and twist clockwise.
Okay.
Their jaws actually are somewhat corkscrewed. So if you pull up and twist, it should pop off.
I'll be damn. See, I'm telling you, Lev, I feel like I should be paying you for this segment because I'm learning like a ton. Okay, and so there's a plant, and it was like I don't know what it is, obviously. I was walking in, and it was in a farmland, walking in Jersey County, and I saw this little bulb, okay, and it was like a brown, it almost looked like a little ball, like a gumball, but it wasn't. I can't even describe it. It almost looked like something you'd see in a lily pad, that brown stem almost.
Yeah.
Well, it was like a fuzzy ball. It wasn't hard, it was a fuzzy ball. And I opened it up, and a bunch of these it looked like a bunch of ticks were inside of this
that's
thing.
a gall. That's a wasp gall.
I ran into one of those then.
Yep,
those things suck.
Yeah, because you don't expect it, and then all of a sudden you're covered in bugs.
Exactly. So those were wasps instead of ticks?
Yes, those are wasps. But not the stinging kind.
No, I had the same experience because they look kind of like ticks though.
Yep.
Now I feel better because I thought I was gonna die. I was like, oh my god, there's like a million of these ticks. I'm done in a minute. Yeah. I only weigh 140 pounds, Lev. I ain't got that much blood in me. Man, this is so cool. This is just a taste of some of the conversations you can have.
Come on down. Let's hang out.
Well, it starts with pollinators, and then all of a sudden you just start talking insects and things that really could help you and your family, feel safer when you're out walking.
Yep. Yeah, come on down. Let's talk. If you want to ever talk about ticks or plants or trees or
pollinators,
come on down.
Now, let me ask you about dogs' reactions and your animals' reaction to pollinators, if you have a little time, because it seems like we all have pets, and my parents have a bigger yard for the dogs to run. I have an outside yard. What's the thing that we need to worry about with our dogs, around maybe any type of bee that's, pollinating a bush really heavily?
Yeah, so I've found that for some reason dogs love eating wasps.
Yes, they do.
So I guess, keep an eye on your dog. Usually it's not very much dangerous to a dog.
That's what I wanted to know. Yeah.
In this area, and especially in the Northeast and other parts of the country, Lyme disease, ehrlichiosis, anaplasmosis, and tick-borne illnesses, and heartworm. So the best thing you can do is flea and tick and heartworm preventative medication.
Okay.
And that that knocks out 90% of your crazy sudden vet bills in the summertime.
That's good to know.
To prevent those diseases.
But preventative maintenance goes a long way.
Absolutely. And heartworm is an extremely, extremely dangerous thing. It's transferred by mosquitoes. And so we always prevent that with a monthly
This is
pill.
a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it. Do mosquitoes do anything?
Yeah, they feed a lot of our, they feed a lot of bats.
Okay.
They're a big food source.
But they're not like pollinators or anything. They don't help any plants.
I'm sure that somewhere there is a relationship.
See, I had to ask because there's always something weird out there that connects.
I personally don't know of any, but now I'm going to look it up, and I'm positive there are.
Man, we got to talk the next time you're back in. You got to look it up and let me know. And let's get back to Pollinator Day, June the 20th. Sorry, I went on like tangents, but this is kind of like some big interest for me. I always feel like this is interesting stuff to talk about. June 22nd, 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. at Pere Marquette. You call the Visitor Center for more information. 618-786-3323. Love what's all happening that day.
We're going to be having guest speakers. We're going to be having arts and crafts. We're going to be having some honey tastings. We're going to be having more guest speakers that I have in the works currently. Some live beekeeping demonstrations and guided hikes. It's going to be a great time.
We got a text question. What do we do if we find a hive and we probably don't? This person says, what happens if you find a hive, a beehive in your yard, and you don't necessarily want it to be there? Can you move a hive?
Yeah, so, it depends on, number one, the aggressiveness of the hive.
Okay.
It also depends on what stage you're in, if they're swarming. When in doubt, call your local beekeeping association.
There you go!
Yeah, this is what they do. They love bees, and they'll come in and take care of the hive. Most of the time, you don't need to kill the hive. Most of the time, you can just pick them up and move them somewhere else. Bees are generally docile insects. They're not out to hurt you. They're not out to sting. They're just kind of there to make honey and live their little bee lives.
I like that. That's a good shirt.
Yeah.
Just living my bee life.
Live my best bee life. So yeah, when in doubt, call your local beekeeping association.
Really cool. Now I got to ask you one final one now that brought up a good point. It's not anything to do with pollinators, but just an outside question. Does the gasoline little video that I keep seeing work for wasps and those bald-faced hornets?
Absolutely.
Do they really?
Yes. But I don't recommend you do it because if you put a jar over a wasp's nest, if you mess up, it's gonna suck.
Yeah.
And there's probably more wasps that are flying around.
Okay.
That are going to get you.
Because their hormones release, don't they, and say, hey, we're under attack, and it alerts the other wasps flying?
Yep. And also the thing is that wasps are horrible and mean, and so if you start doing that, if one slips out or one sees what's going on, they'll come get you, and then you'll drop the bucket, and then there'll be wasps all over you.
And you'll remember it for a while.
Yeah.
But man, thanks for hanging out with me today.
Thanks for letting me know.
I always tell you 15 minutes, and 30 minutes later, here we are at 9:50 and a little bit of change. June 22nd, Pollinator Day is coming up, but I'm sure we'll be talking before then. I got to get you on more. This is cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
We'll take a quick pause here. We'll wrap up the 9 o'clock hour right here on RiverBender.com, Roku TV, in the heart of the 618.